What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. We are finally getting Ultimate Freyna this week, and whether you are buying her with cold hard cash or actually playing the game and unlocking her that way, you will want to probably level her super fast and get her fully catalyzed as fast as possible, especially if you've done this a bunch of times with other Descendants and you couldn't be asked with the effort of struggling. Now in this video I'm going to share 3 different builds which play drastically different than each other and essentially allow you to tackle the leveling process with Ultimate Freyna in whichever way that suits you. Now each one is also better than the last, so we're going to start with the weakest one and we're going to end up with the best one. Of course there are timestamps in the video down below or in the description if you want to jump around, but do stick around for some of the nuance as I discuss each one of these. But basically we're going to go through just how each one of these builds work and what it's suited for. But first things first, let me explain just the general thought process that I put behind each one of these 3 builds as to basically provide a very good starting point for you with Ultimate Freyna when you start. So of course Ultimate Freyna starts at level 1, and because she's an Ultimate Descendant you actually do get some catalysts already put in. You get some cells already catalyzed. With ultimate characters you get 4, and with normal characters you get 2. Now we don't know what her 4 catalysts are going to be. Normal Freyna has 2 rutile slots on it, but we will get 2 additional slots, and that could be that these 2 are different. Maybe it's 4 fucking rutile, who knows, but we're going to get 4 slots already catalyzed, and the assumption is those are going to be slots that we can actually use. So the point is that we wouldn't have to like recatalyze them, hopefully. That being said, the idea is to fully catalyze Freyna, you want to be slotting in 7 of your own catalysts. So that's 1 over here to get you the additional 5 points that you can get, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means that you've got 4 catalysts already put in with Ultimate Freyna, and then you put 7 of your own in. So the maximum that you want to level to first initially is you want to basically do the whole 1 to 40 7 times. Now our first build actually uses Kingsguard Lance, which is a weapon of course that was patched a little while back, and then there was something that was corrected with one of the mods, and so it's not as fucking great as it used to be, but it's still pretty damn decent. And this is a farm that essentially lets you almost semi AFK accumulate a huge amount of XP. And basically how this works is you're going to go on the map and you're going to go to White Knight Gulch, and you go to the mountaintops, and you want to go to this void fragment over here. Now this is a toxic void fragment, which is of course perfect for Freyna, and what you're going to do is you're going to use the Kingsguard Lance to essentially choke the 2 spawn points. So you're going to put 2 towers on the one side, 1 tower on the other side, and then you're going to kick off the void fragment by hitting it of course with some toxic, and then you're going to use your other abilities to supplement the area that only has 1 tower. Your objective is to kill this first wave of enemies and then abandon. So this is void fragment abandoning, or you know, whatever you want to call it, but this is, or cancellation, maybe that's a better way to call it. But this is a very, I would say, commonly used mechanic for leveling. Vespers of course made this approach you know, super popular, but essentially you're just going to do this the whole time. So you're going to set up your towers, you're going to kill the first wave of enemies, you're going to abort, which respawns the tower, and you can immediately trigger it again. And because you have long lasting poisons that are hanging around, this is just going to basically kill all the enemies that the towers don't clean up, and you're actually going to pull out a huge amount of XP. Now the point is, this is going to net you about 3.5 million XP in an hour. This method unfortunately means that you won't be getting any Kuiper, you won't be getting any gold, and your weapon proficiency will pretty much be solely to the Kingsguard. Yes, your side weapons that you are carrying each get 30%, but the point is you're going to be putting all of your weapon XP basically into the Kingsguard Lance, which in your mind could be a waste because maybe you have a max Kingsguard Lance or whatever. By the way, this could be a fantastic way for you to also max out Kingsguard Lance if you were interested in doing that. So there's a lot of XP and stuff being left on the floor here, but the point is it's all about the character XP, and you're going to be making about 3.5 million an hour, which means that on a 14 to 15 second rotation this is going to be a decent amount of XP, and it's going to get you almost 2 times to 40 in an hour, since basically for us to get all the way to 40 requires almost 2 million XP. So about 1.856800 is the exact total of XP that you need to level up once to all the way to 40. So this means that in about 3 hours and 40 minutes, you're going to be able to do 7 catalysts on Ultimate Freyna, and you'll be done and dusted. Now the build itself, actually, first things first, I'll just show you my Kingsguard Lance. So there's a couple of different ways that you can of course build Kingsguard Lance. The point being here that you can essentially, you know, factor into whichever element you want. Of course, I believe the two most efficient ones are, of course, chill, because it actually slows the enemies down, which in this case with this leveling method is really good because the enemies don't get to make it out of that circle and come attack you. But you can of course use the toxic version as well. And this is just basically it. Now, if you want more nuance and more discussion around Kingsguard Lands, I've made like, I think 3 videos on it. So definitely check the channel if you want something specifically about this weapon. But basically, the build itself for Freyna looks like this. So you are using Contagion because Contagion is just really efficient at spreading your poison around. So this is a fantastic Transcendent to have. And it's honestly a Transcendent mod that you should be prioritizing to get if you don't have it for Freyna yet. This is of course a Transcendent mod that works on Freyna and Ultimate Freyna, so there's absolutely no reason for you to not have this. So if you haven't gone and farmed this and unlocked this yet, this should be priority 1, because another one of our farms, another one of our builds is also going to use this mod. But the rest of the mods here, and just quickly, you'll notice that my mod capacity is 80 over here, and I have kept the original 2 just basically catalyzed in. You see these are not switched to their polarities. So the idea here being that I'm showing you a character that is brand new and has started and has no cells catalyzed except for the ones which were given to us by the character. Now, as mentioned, of course, Ultimate Freyna will have another 2 catalysts, bringing it up to a total of 4 that you get as the character just starts, which could be some of these, like some additional root tiles or something like that, which would be fucking phenomenal. But the name of the game with these mods here is essentially that you want fast cooldowns and you want as much range on your AoE poison as possible so that you can cover big areas that your turrets don't essentially shoot. And then last but not least, you're also using MP Collector so that you don't have to climb down from your perch. Basically, your poison and all your shit is killing enemies, and that's feeding mana back into you. So the only time you really have to go down is when you go look for some more bullets for Kingsguard Lands, which you can do on every, I would say, maybe 4 to 6 rotations, depending on how frugal you are with the ammo and how good your aim is at refreshing them. But essentially, as mentioned, that's it. The name of the game here: fast cooldowns, big range, and of course trying to just get your skill cost or anything like that down. So we're using Nimble Fingers, maximum range, skill expansion, frugal mindset, skill extension, maximum duration, and MP Collector. I think if you've been playing Freyna for a while, a normal Freyna, then these mods should be mods that are already on your periphery because they're just really good mods for Freyna in general. Our second build is basically for people that want to dip into infiltrations and use that as the primary method to level up their Freyna. Infiltrations are really good for XP because you get a massive amount of XP for the boss that you kill at the end and decent XP for the minions that you kill inside an infiltration as well. And if you're with a decent group, infiltrations can be a fantastic way to level up super fast. Now, the footage that you're seeing in the background is Magister Lab, which is of course a very, I would say, famous infiltration to do. This is kind of like a one that is done by the community as a whole a lot, but it's also worth mentioning that this is actually the 5th best one to do. So the list of infos that you should actually be doing if you want to get the best XP per hour is actually Mystery End at number 1, Asylum at 2, Sepulture at 3, Biolab at 4, and then, as mentioned, Magister Lab at 5. The differences between these are not massive, but for example, between Mystery's End and Magister Lab, you're talking at about maybe 400 to 500,000 XP additional, depending on which buffs you have on, of course, if you have the 30% additional XP buff and all of that stuff. So it can add up in the end. But this is a very efficient way of leveling as well. As mentioned, it is really good if you have a decent group. Unfortunately, it also does suck if you have a lot of people that are fucking sponging XP off and basically standing around. The game still doesn't have a feature that lets you kick people that do that, and it also doesn't have a mid-join function. So sometimes you'll just start and there'll be like fucking 2 dudes, and one dude will hang around at the start and another dude will suck, and then you just won't get the XP, or it won't be as fast, let me rather say that. I don't think that that's going to be a massive problem with the October 10th patch, because I think a lot of people are going to be playing Ultimate Freyna, and if a lot of people play Ultimate Freyna, you're going to have a lot of them running with you, and it's just going to double, triple, quadruple down in all the dots and damage and shit that you do. So fucking, let's go. But doing it this way, and again using Magister Lab as an example, you're going to be pulling out about 3.5 million character XP, so not a lot more than the previous method that we were doing solo on the Void Fragment cancelling, right? but you are going to have the benefit of actually getting weapon XP into whichever weapon you're holding. Now, I do advise you to use Secret Garden because it is such a fucking beast in Freyna's hands and means that you actually have a decent weapon to kill with as well, and you're not just depending on your skills. So absolutely use Secret Garden, but if you are farming up Ultimate Freyna in this method, it's also going to be an avenue for you to just level up some of your other weapons. You're also going to get a little bit of Kuiper out, and you're going to get some gold out as well. And these figures, by the way, of course, are representative of an hour. What this means is you're going to get almost 2 times 240 in an hour if you grind this out, because you're looking at about a 3-minute to 3-minute 15-second rotation on every finish of Magister Lab. Of course, if you are doing a different infiltration, your time will vary, but the point is then you'll be able to finish 7 catalysts on Freyna in about 3.5 hours, which is pretty damn decent. So the build itself, as mentioned, you want to be using a Secret Garden if you can. Fucking super great weapon for Freyna. And this is what my Secret Garden setup looks like for Freyna. You are basically doubling down into the whole Toxic thing, and Toxic Conductor gives us a whole bunch of additional firearm attack. And just in general, Secret Garden itself, and what I'll do is I'll just move my face over here. Secret Garden itself has an insanely high crit rate and crit damage multiplier. So you want to be leaning into that heavily. Again, I've made a Secret Garden video. It's on the channel if you want to go into the specific nuance of the weapon. But this is a fucking ridiculous setup for Secret Garden, and it's going to absolutely demolish enemies, well, pretty much anything that's left standing after you poison it. So then when it comes to the actual build itself for Freyna, what you are doing here, and you would have noticed in the footage, is that we are actually trying to increase our speed at covering ground inside an infiltration. So one of the things that makes these infiltrations go really fast is if you have a bunch of bunnies or something like that in, because they'll just tear through the content and they'll run ahead super fast. This can also be the case for VSs, which can also do that. So this is the Freyna version of that. So Venom Synthesis, this Transcendent mod here, basically replaces your third skill with something that gives you 30% additional movement speed. And so this gives you that additional speed that you can almost keep up with bunnies and definitely keep up with VSs. It means that you're also moving through the map quicker. You're leaving fucking dot circles behind you that poison enemies and kill them. And so therefore you are getting to the end boss faster, you're completing the objectives faster, and you're finishing your overall infiltration faster. Now, the rest of the mods here are, again, all about just giving you a little bit of survivability in the case of like Battle of Stamina here, giving us additional skill duration, but also some HP. And then we want to be increasing our range as well as our duration for our skills. This is for our poisons, but also, you know, meaning this is for us using Venom Trauma, for example. But it also means that our Venom Synthesis, which is the ability that lets us run faster and leave the little dots behind, also lasts longer and actually has a bigger circle that it leaves behind. So these all address that. MP conversion drops our skill cooldown severely while also costing us a little bit of max MP, but that's not a massive issue. And then of course we are taking focus on Toxic and focus on Tech, since you will be putting this into a final build version of Freyna in any case. But at this level, even though the bonuses to your damage is not that substantial, both of these mods give you an additional 6.1% skill cooldown in each one of these two. So that is how you get your cooldown for example, Venom Synthesis so low, so its cooldown is all the way down from 25 seconds to 11, and then we have its duration being 23 seconds, so it basically lasts twice as long as the cooldown, so you don't have to hit it every time on cooldown, and you can kind of like just watch when the buff wears off. Now again, I just want to mention before anybody says, yo bro, why the fuck aren't these things leveled up fully and everything like that, the point is this is a build that you can build with your very beginning Ultimate Freyna. So level 1 Freyna, you can slap these fucking mods in after you use your energy activator on her, of course, to get you to 80 model capacity, and you're good to go and you can fire off. So this is the build that I would use with infiltrations, and as mentioned, 3.5 hours, you're fully done with Ultimate Freyna, and then it's on to the races. And that then brings us to our final build of the 3, the creme de la creme, if you please. So this is going to be a build that not only is going to allow you to get to a fully catalyzed Ultimate Freyna in the shortest time possible, really fucking fast, it's also super fun to play, and you're going to be using spec ops, so special operations like block Kuiper mine in sterile lands to actually farm this. Now this is a mass AoE Freyna build, and it's going to just chew through like low level enemies and everything like that, and it's perfectly suited for these activities like special operations. Now, the main thing about this is that I also wanted to create a build that could let us dip into the 400% additional difficulty infiltrations that we are going to get. This is something new that's coming in October 10, or on October 10 rather, and it's going to be massive mass density, but you know, infiltrations with a huge amount of enemies, much more than we usually see in the hundreds and the 250s, and this will be a good place for us to start trying to get into those as well. I'm sure those infiltrations are going to be difficult as well, and we're probably going to take a lot of damage, so it might not be perfectly suited right at the beginning, but it gives you a good place to start from to essentially build into it. Now, again, as always, you want to be using Secret Garden. It is really good. It is almost like an auto include. There's really no reason not to run it. And then the build itself looks like this. So again, we're using Contagion. Get yourself this Transcendent mod. Don't fuck around. It is really, really good. And then what we're doing is very much like what we see with the infos one here. We are kind of like keeping things the same. I mean, essentially, I could just do this and it would look almost exactly the same. The only difference between the two here being that in the case of the Spec Ops version, I am actually including MP Collector, which is just going to keep us topped up the whole time so that we can just move in between all these zones and we just drop our 2 abilities and we move on to the next one. And then as long as you stay within 150 meters of the area that you are killing enemies, you are getting all of that XP. It is possible for you to, in Spec Ops with this build, fucking solo 2 areas by yourself by essentially dropping your 2 abilities at the beginning one and then just moseying on over to the second one. And by the time you get to the second one, the first one is almost done and your abilities are off cooldown and you can just put them all down again and you're good to go. Now, this is the base version of this, okay, and this can only get better. So as you start slapping more stuff in, you start leveling up, focus on toxic, focus on tech, you're gonna kill the enemies even faster. I mean, they are dying super fast already, but they're gonna go even quicker, and it's even gonna kill the bosses and stuff faster. But this is a ridiculously efficient way of farming, of leveling, and this is going to net you about 4.5 million XP an hour if you just grind these out. Now, this also does give you a shit ton of weapon proficiency. So if you are still trying to level a Secret Garden, this is a phenomenal way to level a Secret Garden alongside your ultimate Freyna. Or you could just level some other weapons and basically then just count on your abilities, your skills doing most of the damage and not shooting them. But Secret Garden can help you out in some of the tougher level 9, level 10 bosses that need a couple of bullets in the head to die. Nonetheless, my suspicion is there's going to be a bunch of Freynas that are going to be doing special operations in any case. So this is just going to be something that is going to absolutely destroy. Now, you can, at my slowest, I was doing 11 minutes and 20 seconds. And that's if people weren't fucking, you know, pulling their weight. I was doing the full 10 waves in 11 minutes and around like 24 seconds. But once you get into it and once you get into a good groove and once you get a decent group, you can drop this all the way down to 10 minutes. The bottom line is you're going to be doing almost 2.5 times to 40 in 1 hour, and that means that in 2 hours and 40-ish minutes, if you're doing at about 11 minute 10.5 minute completions, let's just make it 11 minutes for the sake of this argument. If you're doing 11-minute turnarounds on all 10 levels of this, it's going to take you 2 hours and 40 minutes to get all the way to a fully catalyzed ultimate Freyna, and this is probably the method that I'm going to use to level her up super fast. So again, when you are then actually getting some catalysts in here, you're just going to be able to improve this even more. You're going to put some more levels into this. You're going to give yourself some more cooldown. You're going to give yourself some more survivability. You're going to give yourself some more range, and it's just going to make this shine even more. That being said, I will also provide a fully built Ultimate Freyna build pretty much probably on the day that Ultimate Freyna drops. So if that's something that interests you, of course, keep a look at the channel. But these are the 3 builds that I would suggest you to use if you are looking to level Ultimate Freyna as fast as possible. I also just quickly want to touch on the Reactor. Of course, since we aren't fighting any, intercept bosses, we don't have to worry about Colossus damage. So here, something like skill cooldown and tech is good. Skill cooldown and toxic is good. Range, if you are lacking range from some of your mods, it's good as well. But you pretty much want to have like tech or toxic in there because that's going to give you a little bit of additional juice. And of course, if you have this on a yellow reactor, that's even better, an ultimate reactor, because then you're going to get 160% boost instead of the 140 that I get here. But all of the footage that you've been seeing has been using this exact reactor that I have here, and I've had no problems with killing fucking anything. In terms of your components, all of the figures and the tests and everything that you guys saw and the XP numbers, they were first of all, of course, using the 30% buff that we get from applying, you know, gain XP 30%, you know, these modifiers. And then of course I'm also using what you can call a farming set. So I'm using a set that gives me additional character XP gain modifier on my sensor, and it's giving me additional firearm proficiency gain, for example, on my memory, as well as like additional Kuiper drop and gold drop and everything like that. So if you don't do it this way, if you don't have the 30% buff here, and if you aren't wearing a farming suit, then of course your yields will not be as good as mine, and you'll have to adjust it sort of like accordingly. So I would say take about 35%, maybe not even that much, about 33% off of the numbers there. But nonetheless, even if you don't have the buffs, this is still going to be the fastest way to level up Ultimate Freyna. And that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. Let me know in the comments down below if you're excited for Ultimate Freyna, or what else about the patch on October 10th has you most excited. I gotta say, of course, Ultimate Freyna, fuck yeah, let's go. But I'm really interested in the 400 times infiltrations. I think those might potentially be ridiculously good for leveling as well, but of course we can't test that yet. So look out for just a fast video or something like that. If that ends up being like really good on patch day, then of course if it's better than, you know, block Kuiper mining, then that would be the best way to, you know, to level up to 40 multiple times. But we'll only know that on the day if that XP is better than what we see from the 3 tests that we have here. And of course I'll share it with you. Other than that, it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Till next video, fucking cheers.